हाँ यस हो गया हाँ हेलो सो हाय मुकेश हाय अमित
Hi Paresh. Hi Paresh, how are you?
आई एम गुड हाउ आर यू हाय अमित भाई व्हाट्स अप
Very good, very
Hi.
good.
Good,
Wonderful.
yeah. So I think the panel is like it's like a group of friends now. You know, it's like okay, meeting not during physically, but chalo, Corona is giving us reasons to meet up again like this, and that's pretty great. So pretty happy to do this, and let's get into action. So good to see you guys, both of you, amazing, and I
Same
think
here.
connection वैसे ही हम इतनी बार ये सब चीजें डिस्कस करते रहते हैं तो let's just do another round of quick discussion on what do you think about the future and the ecosystem in the tier 2 tier 3 cities. And just before we do that, just tell me your quick experience during COVID. What has been the scene and what has changed in your lives in the last 2 3 months? And just do a quick roundup in terms of what all has happened with you guys, and then we'll start off.
I'll let Amit sir take the lead as always.
Okay. So, Paresh, nothing changed in my life in terms of work, but
Okay.
definitely as I known like a traveler, because most of the time people ask me that what you do apart from going here and there for the mentorship of startups. So that is
Uh-huh.
being converted into the virtual mentorship session.
Okay.
Means I normally talk to 5 startups on an average on daily basis now on Google Meet or wherever on phone calls.
Okay.
In fact, for AHA Venture also, I keep mentoring startups. So the way we were mentoring earlier, that is changed. Otherwise, we were on the cloud for last 4 years in terms
Right.
of our business. So we
Right.
were not using any desktop-based version for anything like accounting, payroll, etc. So we were on the cloud. So now the difference only is that we will have to interact with our team remotely, and that is also a good experience with the team, because earlier also I never go to my own office. I sometimes I stay in Jaipur, sometimes in Odisha, etc.
Okay.
So nothing changed from my side, but it is really a good experience.
Good, yeah. What about you, Mukesh? Mukesh, bhai. Hello, we are waiting for a response from you. Are you there? Mukesh seems to be off. Ah, okay. Let him join in.
So that is another challenge when we are face to face. There is no
I know.
opportunity for anyone to go off in case he do not like the conversation. But there is an opportunity. You can easily say that my internet was not working and I can't do anything.
I know that's like so tricky, but yes, you know, a lot of new things, and I think maybe Mukesh se baat ho rahi thi, तो I'll speak to some extent about him. That you know, he's like, okay, I wanted a break, I got a break for a month, and he has re-engineered his business structure, and he decided to rethink about a lot of things. So I think that's a pretty good thing to happen, and I'm pretty glad about it.
So,
Chalo, anyway,
before our session, Lalit was mentioning very good thing that in case of physical event, no one can go anywhere. They will have to kill the time. But in virtual thing, in case someone do not like the conversation of Paresh, he can easily
we
go
can
off
go get
from
out.
the house. So this is a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
change in everyone's life.
You can
So
you can turn your mute on and say, okay, get lost. I'm just there but not there. And I mean, has the number of events increased for you?
a
Mukesh is back.
little bit.
They have increased now. So the webinars and the good part is, since you're not traveling, so you can attend multiple events at the same time and address multiple audiences over a period. So I think that's pretty good.
More than that, next week
Hi
or
guys.
so, I am
Sorry,
addressing someone in
that
Africa. Means
internet
no one invited me in the past to Africa to address the audience. Now some
Fantastic.
African organization is saying, "Can you address our startups here
Fantastic.
online?" So
Fantastic. 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 So Mukesh, you were just starting the conversation saying that how the COVID experience been with you, and what has been there last 1 month. Are you there now? Are you able to speak up? I think there's a pause from my side. Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Very much. Very much. Very much. Yes, yes. See, okay.
I'm saying, what has been the change in
So,
your
all right. So,
life?
see, one big change that you can, my new hairdo that is really causing trouble at this moment. And the appearances, the most important change I think that has happened is made me sit at one place and work, which was not really the case earlier. Like Amit sir was talking about, we are used to travel 2 cities a week or 3 cities a week kind of a setup.
Right.
We've always been like that, but now we're sitting at one place and working, still meeting startups, still talking to them. I think I may have spoken to about 200 startups so far during this period lockdown, and assessed so many
Wow.
solutions
Wow.
that are available. So that's
Fantastic.
particularly the case, and work-wise also, there's a huge expansion. Work is happening pretty well. I would say it's much more cleaner mindset or better mindset that is really brought about this COVID-19 situation. So that's been pretty good that way. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's get to the topic, and I think
Hmm.
I think you guys don't need any introductions, and people can read through your introductions online. Both of you are fairly accomplished, have worked with multiple startups, and done blah 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 blah. So I would straight away come to the things that most of the people I troubled with, and the biggest trouble which I feel, the tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, they feel that the ecosystem is not good enough to support startups. And post COVID, I think a lot of people have built up this anxiety further. And I see a lot of panic amongst MSMEs also around, people saying, oh, the business is very low. And see, the thing is that most of these startups here in the tier 2, tier 3 cities are, more like MSMEs. They're smaller in nature. They're more local in nature, and they're slightly different from these big city startups. So what do you guys have experienced in the last 2 months and future, that how is the ecosystem shaping up in these cities? So smaller cities, mein, what all is going on? Amit, I would start because I could see that there are a lot of deals that are happening at your end, and you are apparently funding startups or left, right, center. So tell me what all is going on in this system, and what has been your experience,
Yeah, so Paresh, what was happening in the past? So most of the founders were still
Amit?
from the tier. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, I
Paresh,
can
am
hear
I?
you.
No.
Yeah. So Paresh, in the past, there were still founders
Hello.
who were from tier two
Stop.
cities, but what was happening that they were moving to metro cities because they were feeling that the investors or mentors are resides there. So what had happened in the past 2 months that most of the mentors are also
Hello,
virtually
hello.
interacting with the startups, and even the startups also interacting
Camera
virtually with
says
their
on. I
customers.
can't see anything. I am not able to shift to anything.
So what is happening?
Are you guys
So
there?
Paresh, yeah. We are continuing, and I feel audience is able to hear us.
Better, huh? Better?
So Mukesh, I feel you can see, and lots of
Yeah,
people are giving the
I
thumbs
can,
up.
I can hear you. Yeah,
Abhijit, you can carry on.
right.
We are able to hear you. You can carry
Yeah,
on.
yeah, 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 yeah. Please.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
So let me repeat the phase for the audience. So earlier, what was happening that the startups were moving from non-metro cities to metro cities because they were feeling that the entire ecosystems is there and they can get a better ecosystem there. But over the 2 months, what is happening that even I am residing at Rohtak. I have not gone Delhi for last 3 months. Mukesh is in Delhi, and Paresh, you are in Jaipur. We all are virtually interacting with our startups or our audience or our customers or whatever is the stakeholder. So the biggest shift is happening now. There is no limitation in terms of geography that where are you. So I personally feel that the concept of tier 1 or tier 2 cities will be removed in near future. The more will go to the virtual things or the online things, because all of us are in our home. It does not matter whether we are in Mumbai or we are in Jaipur. So that's how I see a big shift. And as you mentioned that I am investing, yes, I personally feel that this is the right time to invest because the idea which are of very early stage, this will be the right time to invest because they do not have anything, nothing is there to lose because they will have to start afresh, and whatever strategy will be made by those startups, that will be for post COVID era and will considering all the aspect which can impact them in the future future as well, like a pandemic or the problem, just like this COVID-19. So, Mukesh, would you like to add something here?
No, no, I think, see, I know most of the people will continue to say that. I do agree with a lot of your ideologies, as always. I have also seen that kind of shift that's happening. I'm working very aggressively with tier 2, tier 3 cities for a long, long time, especially from my rural experience and people who really worked with me. Uh, Biggest challenge for any tier 2, tier 3 person was the access to resources, access to knowledge, and access to technology, all of it. So now that I think is changing with, as you said, you giving sessions to people in Africa or the key stakeholder. 7 months ago, when we started it, we had people from Guntur, Raipur, Rohtak for that matter, Pratapgarh. So people have realized that people have seen the value in the local economy, especially during COVID times. People have seen that economy locally also is quite sustainable. It works very well. Uh, People have seen that workmen's glorified solutions, or also as I call them that way. So I think to where they've been. So that's so I won't call it. I don't like the word migration or migrant or something of that sort, because we all belong to the same place and same country. But wherever that we sit, we like to make the most of the resources we have available. That's what I'd say.
Okay, sorry, I missed and I skipped out in the middle, so I need to have a catch up again. But then let's
Sure.
talk about. Did you guys make really any efforts looking at the policies? What is your expectation in terms of, are the startups going to be struggling now post COVID? I read in a lot of research papers that 90% of the startups are facing troubles, 30% are going to close down. And what do you think will be the status, in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and how do you think the ecosystem can really help these guys? So do you think that things are going to be different, good, bad, ugly, and what's your projection about it? And what do you see coming right now? We'll start with Amit. Yeah,
So Paresh, I personally feel this is the problem which do not belong to particular geography. It belongs to entire world. So that's why this is a unique kind of problem which all of us have seen in our life. We have never seen such a situation where there is global lockdown kind of a situation. So
yeah,
I personally feel, and in your absence also, I mentioned about my investment philosophy as well. Why I am investing right now, because I feel that people are now well aware about this problem, and they will be bring something related to this kind of situation for the future as well. So they will make a plan in such a way that in case such kind of situation will be there, in case they will not be able to do business for 3 months or 6 months, what will be their strategy? So that will automatically become integral part of the business plan itself. That's why I am investing aggressively during this period at very super early stage, where they are just at prototype or pilot stage. So because I am just thinking that they will be ready for these kind of situations. And your statistics is very right, which I also anticipated in early March itself, that 30-40% startups are going to be failed, and overall we always keep saying that 10% of the startups will have to be successful. So 90% ultimately will have to be failed. So the timelines will become little aggressive for them to fail, but ultimately 90% will have to fail. So I would like to give an example as well. It is not that all this is a negative impact on all the startup. There are certain positive impact as well. To give an
sure,
example, I am an investor in a company called PSafe. So they suddenly in March itself they shift the entire focus on the hand sanitizer. And you will not believe that sale of last 10 months and sale of last 2 months are almost equal. Means
wow,
you can
wow,
say that 5 times sales in last 2 months, because they get the license on very second day itself from the commissioner that this is an essential item and this is must, please increase the production, and they automatically
right,
increase the production. they start working in 3 shifts. So you can say that there are certain companies where there is a positive impact as well.
No, in fact, I see it always like this, that, this, so startup by definition is supposed to be some entity which is trying to solve a problem. And this is a problem time, so I think we are in trouble. Everybody is having a problem, and this is the time for startups to solve the problems. I think that's the way I look at it. Yes, that, and I have seen a lot of startups changing the businesses. See, startups have the flexibility. Startups have the ability to quickly change, migrate, and change a business plan. I know a guy who was making pastas, and suddenly he's created a sanitization tunnel, and he changed his entire business model because he was a startup thought process person. So I mean, he's like, oh, I want to change things, so that's a wow which has happened around in my experience. But definitely there are problems. Mukesh, what's your experience? How are the startups coping up with this whole process, and what has been your thoughts on it?
See, startups, the numbers are definitely correct in terms of the mortality and how the struggle is really. But I see startup is also a business, and they are not untouched by the other,
You're losing your voice.
or other aspects.
I think we lost Mukesh's his voice, and I think there was some internet connection issue again. Mukesh is joining again, so he's. Yes, Mukesh, we are facing
Okay, I
serious
don't know.
challenges, and we can't see as well. But
All right,
that
can you guys
is
hear me now?
again a problem which needs to be solved by some startup.
yes, some startup
Right,
has
true.
technical issues,
Can
so
you
that we can. Yeah.
guys hear me now?
No, we can't hear you.
You guys
No,
hear me now? Can you
it's
guys hear me
fairly
now?
distorted.
All right, perfect. So I,
Better now, but yes. Yeah.
So Paresh, you can see the congestion in Delhi versus Rohtak. So I am in Rohtak, you are in
let me
Jaipur,
switch to a
Mukesh is
different
in
internet connection if it really
Delhi. So
helps
lots
you.
of
I
congestion
don't
there, and
it's
that is
brilliant,
the benefit of having in tier 2 cities rather than having.
I mean, okay. Are you actually facing I would rather ask this question to Mukesh, that is Delhi actually becoming overcrowded with technology issues? Mukesh is not here only. So I mean, let's do this conversation amongst ourselves, Amit. I would really see that a lot of people tried a lot of things here in the ecosystem, and I saw a lot of players were trying to make an effort. In Jaipur, personally, we had we tried to write a letter to the government. We wrote to CII, we wrote to FICCI, we wrote to all the players in the economy. Nobody really cared about us. So that's the way I see it. So we saw the government also did not even mention once in the entire conversation about the pandemic as a startup terminology. Why do you think that happened? And that is, see, because the whole idea of a tier 2 tier 3 city and to build that startup ecosystem was that somebody's going to listen to us, and that's exactly where tier 2 tier 3 cities were headed. That the whole idea was, we'll build these youngsters, we'll build these college guys, we'll try to put these incubation centers into colleges, and we'll try to bring this up. Now suddenly we realize that government has turned a blind eye on the whole thing, and government doesn't seem to be really bothered. The ecosystem players, the biggest ecosystem players, are fairly inactive right now, while I see the individual people and the other people who are really smaller are really working harder. Why do you think that's happening, and what's going on here?
So, Paresh, to be very honest, I will little bit disagree here with your point of view that the government is not taking care of the tier 2 or tier 3 cities. I personally feel that government should not discriminate between the metro cities and non-metro cities. To be very honest, whatever competitions are going on from the central government, that is for all the people. They never says that only people from Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore can participate from them. And you will not believe, we also recently launched our launchpad, Startup Buddy launchpad, and we received lots of application from tier 2 cities as well, and we never bifurcated that no, we will select only those startups who are from Delhi or Gurgaon or something like that. So practically speaking, the government never differentiate between these two parts. Definitely, you can say that the level of maturity between the metro cities and the level of maturities in non-metro cities is little different. So that's how what we will have to do. We will have to create the ecosystem system amongst selves. Means what government can at the max provide resources, and they can say that these are the resources in case someone wants to apply for that, they can apply for that. So it will be responsibility of us only who belongs to non-metro cities or who have a special care about the non-metro cities. They should come up front end and they should apply for those grants or the resources whichever is available. That, as I mentioned in the beginning, earlier there was a big difficulty in case you will invite some mentor from Bangalore to Jaipur. He will say, okay, I will have to take mentorship session for 4 hours, but my entire 2 days will be spoiled. But now by this pandemic, everyone is at home. We can take their help and they can come online and can mentor for 4 hours. No traveling time cost is
So you can
required.
get different
So,
mentors right now, and that's the way ecosystem can expand.
but the original thing is, are these incubation center or colleges are approaching those mentors or the investors or the people who have a rich experience. Like we have seen today, we have invited Mr. Mahavir Pratap
Yes.
only because he went to Jaipur. Uh, that is coming to my mind. Have you approached 10 such people from the ecosystem? I don't
Right.
know. Might be yes, the answer maybe yes, maybe no. But as a layman, it's going to my mind because he was belonging to Jaipur and now he is president of TAI. That's why we invited him, because the access was easy. But I personally think that is not the right opportunity. We should invite 10 such people with rich experience and should bring the ecosystem at one place and should deliberate upon that.
Fantastic.
I think I was able to answer your question. So I am a
Yeah.
little bit different. That is my
No, no,
thought
I
process.
think that's fine.
Right.
So
तो
what
हिंदी
you're trying
हिंदी
to
में
say is
सिंपल सी बात है कि कुआं प्यासे के पास नहीं जाएगा, प्यासे को कुएं के पास जाना पड़ेगा. तो अपने को अप्रोच करना पड़ेगा सही लोगों को, तो ही ये इकोसिस्टम ग्रो हो पाएगा.
no, and you're right to some extent. कि भाई देखो, I mean, government no, but I see my trouble with this one here is that I don't see any specific statement made for startups by the government at all. In the ecosystem, and so government is trying to set up the ecosystem. Government had spent so much money on the incubators. Government was trying to set up all these incubators and accelerators and programs, be it tier 2, be it tier 1, be it tier 3, anywhere. And while this entire pandemic happened, I
to
don't
be
see any safety.
correct, to be very honest, I think that government is making enough statements related to MSMEs, and we
Yes,
should
yes.
think in our mind that we are part of MSME, but bigger than that. So the difference between MSME and the non startup is that the scalability is the real difference. Ultimately, both the
No, well, the problem which I
companies
feel
are
here,
doing.
uh,
Yeah, please go ahead.
the trouble which I feel is that startups do not have a past record, and most of the so for example loans, if you're trying to go to a bank to ask for a loan, MSME will get a loan but startup may not. So the financial trouble for a startup is even way greater than an MSME, and that's
Okay.
exactly where the ecosystem has to come together and do something about it. So I think that is exactly what I'm trying to hint on.
But it's
But
one
that's
thing
what
I'd
I'm
like to
saying.
come in.
Startup will
I'll come in
automatically
here.
covered under the definition of MSME.
I'll,
So the
I'll,
thinking
I'll
that startup is not an MSME, that is a wrong process.
No, no,
Okay,
I'll also come in here,
let me
Prash. You spoke about creating debt infrastructure for startups.
yes.
I'll tell you, startup ecosystem was purely built on equity culture altogether.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, if you start crying together, where at this point in time, if we are too early to even have credentials to be able to prove that we do
We keep losing your voice, Mukesh.
great, and we should be no, there could be bankrolling. Someone should be bankrolling us. Okay, guys, bad internet day is what I can say today. But what I'm saying is that we really need to work hard to build credentials to be able to bank upon. There's
We are unable to hear you, Mukesh.
which is really helping us at this point in time. So that's the real issue that I see right now. We purely
Huh. Okay. So I think I'll just quickly cover the three questions which have been asked, three or four very quick questions asked by some of the people, and let's do this conversation amongst ourselves. First question is there a necessity of a structured framework for mentoring ideas at schools and colleges across India? This has been asked by Vikas Srivastava from Geetam University, and he's trying to understand that. Is there a need for a structured platform? And I'll give my opinion, then Amit, you can probably add up and you try to share your views on it. So my take is, no, there is so there are both ways of learning. There is structured learning and there is unstructured learning, and people can learn through multiple ways in life. So you can either, so some people can just become entrepreneurs just by experience, and that's their inner system. They are more experiential learners, so they don't need a structured thing. They will figure their way out. You leave a person in a desert and he'll find his way out. So that's one way of learning and figuring out things. By so you throw somebody into the swimming pool, he'll figure it out. That's more unstructured format of learning. And then there is a structured format where you teach somebody how to swim, how to navigate, how to do things. Depends on how do you really want to do it. What's your personality? Sometimes some people like it more structured. Some people say, no, just throw somebody into the swimming pool and he learns swimming. So that's what I think. It's a very individual answer. Definitely structured learning makes sense a lot of times because it eases out things. So any learning, if it is structured, makes things simpler. But Amit, what's your take?
So I personally feel that any kind of educational system or the learning start from unstructured way. I am taking an example of our chartered accountancy course in way back in 99 or 2000. There were no books were available, and you will have to structure your education through different books. You will have to take the books from library, and you will have to learn from your seniors, etc. And over the time, what had happened? People start understanding that what is right, what is wrong, and based on that, they start compiling the content together at one place, and now the lots of books are available only for the CA students itself. So I am comparing it with the entrepreneurship as well. 10 days back, no one was aware that whether Facebook will be a success or a failure. Everyone was doing an experiment. Paytm was an experiment in 2013. So now, in case people have learned that what is going right and what is going wrong into the startup ecosystem, and people are coming up with structured system of entrepreneurship, that this should be the business canvas model, and this should the business plan should look like, then you should take care of your trademark in advance itself, rather than spending 1 crore rupees on that itself. So in case certain learnings have been compiled at one places, and that can be implemented at the school college level itself, and those things can be communicated to them at very early stage, rather than doing experiment again. You can learn from that. So I always feel that ecosystem evolved from unstructured to unstructured and to structured, and now we are at the stage where we are moving towards structured stage. So that's what
Yeah, so people are looking at unstructured, and I think the next question is primarily for you, which is talking about somebody. So this is from Jitendra Solanki, and he's saying that if somebody wants to start investing and he's a early investor, he doesn't have too much of an experience to do something. How can he start without taking too much risk? But can he again invest in startups? And what is your advice on this? I think, and that's what. So you can definitely join Amit and the networks. And there are multiple networks. I think Marwari Catalyst is one of them. So join any of these networks who are available. They'll be able to guide you. But yes, Amit, please share your wise words on this one.
Because I keep receiving this kind of questions, so there are two answers to it. One is that you are very busy and you don't want to spend time with the startup, and you want only your money to be grow. And in that case, the platform like Startup Buddy or Marwari Catalyst or the Fluid Ventures can play a significant role, where you can give your money or the commitment to second party. They will invest on your behalf, and once there will be return, that can be shared between the decision maker and the investor. So that is one way of doing that. In case you say that I am investing along with, I want to help the startups as well. So the best way is to find out 2 or 3 investors first, co-invest with them in 5 startups, like I did at the early stage in 2016. I learned from that what went right and what went wrong, and then you start investing them. Spend time with startup, try to help them whatever you can do. You will not get any remuneration out of it, but you will learn lots of things. So by those learning, in case you will invest in 6 startup at your own, I am very much sure that means you will be a master of investor.
So I think what you're saying is just get along with some of them, just try to have somebody lead and just follow initially, and then over a period you build your knowledge. So I think that's a pretty good answer. Mukesh, do you have anything to say on this one? Is your internet connection
No,
now good, and are you able to?
I am really I don't know, I'm embarrassed on behalf of my telecom service provider right now for not being able to provide right connections whatsoever. That could really happen. But yeah, no, I think the approach is fairly simple on why would you want to invest. Your thesis, either you want to co-create something or you want to just make money out of it. So if you want to make money out of it, treat Marwari Catalyst or Startup Buddy like your account manager to be able to multiply your money for you. That can happen. Or if you really want to co-create and want to feel, because I've seen so many investors who actually their own entrepreneurship kida, as I call it, they just simply want to satiate that particular part. So for that satiation, it's always good to co-create with someone, invest, work with them day in day out, learn how to burn the money. Actually speaking first, because your first two investments will only be the money that you'll burn, not necessarily that you'll earn anything out of it.
Sure.
So burn that money, be okay with burning it, and then take it as a cost of learning, take it as your MBA degree cost or whatever that you might call it, but take that cost as a part of the business and eventually move forward with it.
In fact, so there is a very interesting question from somebody, Agri Times, and this excites me as well because things have changed, and this is in the chat box. So I just saw this one here, and it says that if somebody doesn't have this IIT IM tag, how can they raise money? And they seem to be looking at a far more focus on digital news platform, looking for investors. How can they get this funding? And I have been researching a lot on the agri business right now. A lot of new interesting things coming along because I see that government is spending a lot of money, and that focus has moved to rural economy. It has to happen, So it comes to essential services, agri production, agri processing. I mean, Rajasthan ecosystem. This is something which I can tell everybody that government has come out with a very specific agro processing and agro growth policy, which gives fantastic SOPs. So in fact, there are great grants coming along. I recently approached NIAM, and NIAM is offering very interesting projects and proposals. 5 lakh at the idea stage and 25 lakh at the execution stage as a grant. So it's not even equity funding. So I think pretty interesting stuff's happening on the agriculture side. But how can somebody raise funding who doesn't come with a tag like IIT IIM? And typically that's a typical question which I see in the tier 2, tier 3 places where people keep blaming the ecosystem and saying, oh, we are not IIT IIM tag guys and we are not able to raise the money. I mean, how do you guys look at it? So I'll just come to both of you and ask you this question.
Sure, let me take this question first. So, Paresh, before answering this question, I would suggest everyone who is looking at this panel discussion, they should check the investment portfolio of mine, yours, or Mukesh Malay, and have seen and will have to do a research that how many of them are IIT or IIMs. So getting a funding is just like cracking an interview. So definitely, in case you have a good knowledge about your means whatever knowledge you have, and for what you are giving an interview to the company, definitely the probability will become high in case you are educated with a well organization or the school college. So definitely you will be able to give right answers to the investor. So this is similar to tracking an interview where IIM or IITians have a good knowledge about the entire stuff and they answer it very well. So the probability of getting funding become high. So this is not the case that investors are not investing to the non-IITians or non-IIMs. So this is a clearly myth. In case you have a clear vision about your startup and you have a clarity about what you want to do, I invest in that. Sometimes I will have to add one co-founder there for the later stage because I normally see that the people from tier 2, tier 3 cities, they said that we are very good in the operation, but please don't ask us to pitch to Sequoia, Excel, etc. for the funding because we are not good at that. So I normally suggest you start the journey. In case we will reach at that level where we can raise Series A, I will bring someone senior or the experienced one who can have 10 to 15% equity in your company, and his full-time job will be to get funding from the next level investor. So that can be another way of looking at it. And I normally try to combine or consolidate the things at one place so that small things can become big and it can become good for the next level of investors as well.
Mukesh, what's your take, and how do you look at this?
Okay. See, something that I keep saying to a lot of people also as well. I am purely an exception to the rule that I am totally non-IIT, non-IM. I'm not even an engineer, not even an MBA. But by the grace of God, I've been fortunate enough to head quite a few business verticals, working with IITs and IMIs also as well. And I would really respect the fact that they have huge knowledge, huge structured knowledge. They've learned, they've been taught that foresight. There's a great learning that also comes along with it, and I've learned a lot from them too. So if at all your business is all about selling a dream and explaining a structure, that coaching always also helps in terms of finding foresight, also understanding markets. That foresight also helps. Bringing a business also together, that really helps. But is that all that anybody would look at? I am not too sure about it. People would really look at the alignment and the vision and how it really would want to do it and what you're really working with. Yes, I agree with Amit sir again, saying that the structure in terms of conversation is very, very important because it keeps it very precise, focused, and tells people that you know what you're talking about. Uh, Sometimes you know what you really want to talk about, you may not be able to talk about that properly because the structure is not there in your head. That structure helps, that's about it, but I don't really see it is the most critical factor for you to be able to raise funds or go out and prove your acumen. So many times your
I,
numbers, your own,
Hmm.
talk about it yourself. So your performance, the way
You
you
are
run
you're
your
trying to
business.
say, matlab, all said and done, this is what we keep saying. I agree, but then there are problems, and in fact, so while we look at investments happening and the troubles, so this gentleman who's asked this question is from an agri background, and then there's another
Right.
question from Pansari, Anil Pansari again, who's again asking a similar question that see most of the funding is happening on tech startups which are from these tier one, tier two, I mean top shot colleges and stuff like that. What happens to the ones who are actually delivering business, and that's exactly where the ecosystem in the tier 2 tier 3 cities lies. These are startups which are trying to do real products, real services. They're not like tech giants who are just creating apps and riding on other people. Do you see that as a problem, or do you see that things are not moving forward in the right direction there?
Okay,
What
I will take it. I will
yes.
continue from where I was talking about. See, point.
Mhm.
I would not discount what tier one or urban cities also create in terms of applications because they're great solutions that they end up creating also as well. But yes, there are so many times there are intangibles that people really have to experience it rather than see it, what the outcomes are. In terms of an agri profession, the outcome is right there, tangible, right in front of you in terms of crop size, how it really is working. Are you really making a change? Are you really enhancing efficiencies? Those numbers are right there. This is very tangible stuff that you really can see. Uh, it's nothing. Nobody has ever anything against tier two, tier three cities or any other business model. Everybody looks at how you wish to scale it. So
Sure.
many times we've seen that the moment it becomes a livelihood business for someone, or it's a good lifestyle business for someone, the moment it reaches a 1 crore, you see so many stories from rural India. I'm sure that agri professional that you're talking about right now is also a media guy. He also must be publishing saying a farmer makes 1 crore rupees a year. In
Yes,
a way,
yes,
that
yes.
story will come
Absolutely.
like that, and
Yes,
and
yes.
and he's the most glorified person in that ecosystem. So the point is the vision gets limited to that 1 crore because that's way beyond anybody ever expected. So if my crop could have really yielded about 10 lakh a year for me, I've grown 10x, and that's a great innovation for me.
Mm.
Like Amit sir was talking about, there is no knowledge dissemination infrastructure created. There is no further partnership structures created. There is no technological intervention that gets created to further disseminate and bring more people into picture altogether. So the FPCs and FPOs have always been existing. I can talk
Yes.
about rural all day long. I've headed rural for various organizations, so
I
that's
know, I
really
know.
doesn't really take. So the point
Yes.
is, the day we realize that we actually have to scale and look beyond my ecosystem or my local aspect, and how can I make it global, or how can I really take it to a particular point of scale where it really starts impacting lives. So that is
Sure.
something which is the most important part. And most of the professionals who are functionally savvy or who are operationally savvy, like Amit sir was talking about, they're so excited by the innovation within the operation itself or within that function itself. They don't really worry about the business side of it so many times, and someone else really has to intervene and work with the business side for them. So that is something which is very, very important. And people do look at that, and most of the times the investments get delayed or either get shot down for the lack of choice of words. I know it's a strong word, but it normally gets shot down because people don't are not able to explain the scale. How are you going to multiply? Then people will say, okay, मुझे आज मेरे पास 25 एकड़ है, मैंने ये कर लिया, मुझे 200 दिलाओगे तो ही मैं आगे कर पाऊंगा, नहीं तो नहीं कर पाऊंगा. So, that's where the linear mindset comes into picture, and the innovation in multiplying and growing that particular model is a major requirement. Is what is the most important part. वो नहीं explain होता है तो इस चक्कर में अटक जाता है.
So what I understand from this whole panel discussion, and I've been asked to wrap up, and I think we're running against time on this one. But what I understand from this discussion today is that there's no point of differentiating the ecosystem between metros and non-metros. I think, and with the virtual world, everything is coming together. So I think, whoever is there, everybody's anyway inside their homes, and everything has gone virtual. So we can be in Africa and Nigeria and Netherlands and USA and London and Rajasthan and some Bikaner, Badmer and Saharanpur also at the same time. So the ecosystem no longer has to be confined to this metro, non-metro dimensions actually. So I think that's a pretty brilliant insight which has come out of this whole thing, that there's no point of doing it now like that. So the whole post-COVID era would be like, oh, the world ecosystem is together. You can attend any webinar across the globe any point of time without really worrying about, oh, where am I in the world? And so the ecosystem is now a more comprehensive whole, rather than even worrying about metro, non-metro, India, non-India. It has to be the whole world, and that's exactly what has emerged out of this. The other thing is the distinction. Please, so between IIT, IIM grads and all of that, if you are doing good, look at the world. People don't even know half these colleges again. So a lot of people even in Silicon Valley would not know what's an IIM. So not necessarily it is just an India specific issue. You might probably do great work if you're doing great agriculture business also, non-tech business also. Your product is great. Why not reach out to the world? And I think I hope both of you would resonate it. So probably quick goodbye comment, and I think we'll wrap up this conversation. Yeah,
Starting with Amit sir.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's perfectly the same thing which we said in earlier as well. That now the entire world is the same, and we can reach anywhere, and we can approach anyone in the world, and can learn the lots of things. So the only suggestion to the entrepreneur from the non-metro cities, that be connected with the entrepreneur or the mentor from the tier 1 cities, because they have already learned those things which you have to learn. So it will save your time in future, and the journey might be faster as you are comparing, because they have passed through the entire journey.
Last word for you, Mukesh.
Yeah, sure. So I would simply say, with the access to people and knowledge that has really increased all of a sudden with technology, and sorry, the technology part missed on my internet connection today, but yeah. So the point was, with this particular knowledge, try and make use to learn from others' mistakes, because now you have access to a lot of global aspects, global forums. Try not to repeat the mistakes that they have made, because as human beings, the history repeats itself. We have same tendencies to work with. Try and avoid duplication of ideas. Try and avoid repetition of mistakes that they've made. Don't wait for you to collapse and learn. Rather, learn from what the others have really done in the past. Try and figure out the possible integrations in terms of technology or any other partnerships and associations. People are much more open than they ever were earlier. Right now,
Sure.
You can access anybody and everybody today. Everybody's sitting at home. Nobody can even make an excuse. Look, I'm heading out for a meeting. I'm driving right now. I am in a coffee session or whatsoever that can happen. So people are available. People can talk to you. Just try avoid duplication and think global and think scale. That's the most important point. Take advantage of what they have been thinking. That's about it.
Okay, so I think it was a great session, and thank you everyone. Thank you organizers for having such a great event, and I think I loved talking to both of my friends again. So great work, and see you guys. Hope everybody enjoyed this. Take care and have a good day, everyone. Bye bye. See you.
So thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.